Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about pull-out game. Can you get in, do your job, not fumble the ball, and get out? Or do you allow yourself to be triggered and hypnotized by sonic and tactile persuasion? Perhaps you are one of the few skilled operators that can navigate the box without collateral damage. It requires patience, years of practice, and most of all, the will to hold back tsunamis with the clearest mind.
Well, my boys talk about it shooting up the club. Some of y'all niggas be shooting up the club, and then
All right,
you get mad when you catch a body.
hold your fire. The reward is more and more opportunities to learn and explore this life in the many worlds. Enlightenment, stoic wisdom, an audience in the Hall of Secrets, renewed vitality, and lasting vigor. I could go on and on and on about the benefits, but that is for you to learn and discover on your own. How about really learning more about the special woman that you're with without extra moorings and attachments?
Well, one of the philosophies that I think that me and you subscribed to very early on, whether it was high school, college, or whatever in our when we're navigating our dating life, was I promised myself that my relationship would not be based on my child, but my child would be based on a healthy relationship. And I didn't want to have children, whether it was wedlock or not, but I wanted my child to be a product of a healthy relationship if I ever have children. And when we talk about pull-out game, a lot of motherfuckers are just carnal. They're just there for the simple satisfaction, and they don't care. They don't care about the collateral damage. And like I said, children are a blessing, but a lot of these men are damaging women, damaging their own children. And women do too. There are a lot of women that have kids just to trap a man. And that's why it's very important that you can hold your seed. It's very important that you can satisfy a woman without you just simply climaxing. That you can, bring her to ecstasy without you making a kid every single time. Is that accurate, Roscoe?
I was once in a mall walking with a woman that I was dating at the time. And there was a family in front of us. Dad, mom, and 3 kids. The woman that I was with looked and said, "Now that is a man." I just laughed and I shook my head. Okay. You don't know shit about that guy. I said, you don't know a fucking thing about that guy. Like, you see this image and you think this is the ideal. I mean, listen, okay, yeah, sure, it is. But don't make those kind of statements without even knowing shit about that fucking person and saying that's a man.
Hold it. Say what you're saying is so deep right now. Look, I date women, so let's say a lot of women make decisions based on superficial observations. And because, say for instance, that they had an uncle that was a mechanic, or their dad was this, and so when they see a man who's similar to that, they equate all these nostalgia and all these things rush to their head from their childhood, and they start placing traits on somebody who don't possess those traits. you dig what I'm saying? And so then you make a whole decision, and you already made up your mind. Well, this guy reminds me of this. I'm going to be with him. And you didn't get to know him. You don't know anything about him. You don't. And next thing you know, you got a kid by him, and you can't figure out, well, where did I go wrong? You based your decision on something you learned in 3rd or 4th grade, and now you're in your 20s, maybe 30s, and you're using that same criteria to choose a mate or to find somebody attractive, or whatever it is, that however you decide what you want in a person, in a man, in a woman, whatever. So yeah, that's that shit right there. You saying that me and you just walking, and your girl turns to you like, "Hey, that's a real man right there." And I'm like, man, there's a lot of shitheads out there, bro. That's a term you like. He could be a pure shithead. abusive, not providing for his kids. Could just be a nigga that
And
can't
this
cook.
might just be the one good day that they're having out of like 360, shitty ones. Like, you don't know. You don't know if he beats her or not. You don't know a fucking thing about that situation. So, yeah, don't project that. See, like, she was just projecting. And
Projecting,
I'm like,
yes.
oh, you work in a movie theater now? Well, let me get some tickets. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and that is the theater of your mind. Look, I will give an example.
what's funny though, what is funny about the situation is that I don't have any biological kids, and she still doesn't have any biological kids. So I'm like, ain't that something?
Well, apparently she don't know how to pick them. Look, I will give you an example of how women. This is not a generalization. This is a woman that I know. This was a situation, and she kept calling me, asking me for advice. And she was basically, she said, I met a guy. He's a really good guy. He's a really good guy. And I was okay. Well, cool. What's up with him? I didn't mean to, because this is something I normally do. Like, what do you mean, really good guy? Well, he's an excellent father. He takes care of his kids. He has 2 young kids. He has a kid in college. He has a kid that just got married that's in the military. And she
Hold on a
ran.
second. Hold on a second. You naming all these kids. You say he's a good father. Is he a good husband?
Very, very good, Roscoe. So that was her selling point, is that he's a good father. Now, mind you, he's been married 3 times. He has 3 sets of kids.
Okay. He's got
But he,
expansion teams.
yeah, but honestly, he's a good father, but does not make him a good mate
Yeah, he's
or
a
a good
shitty husband.
man, boyfriend. Yeah, not a good
He
husband.
likes starting shit and not finishing shit.
You want to be starting something, you got to be starting. And so she was equating that. Like, I'm like, but that's another thing. This goes back to personal experience. She had a negative experience with her father. She had kind of a negative experience with her husband, because I know her husband takes care of her kids, but there were some issues that she didn't care for. So that was her selling point, that this guy is a, a good father. Now, mind you, he was fucking other women in the department, like at least 4 or 5. One chick had even sued him because she had bought a car from him. He was supposed to pay car for him. He was supposed to pay her back. He refused to pay her back, so she took him to court. He was banging everybody. And so how does that? How does your experience with him saying that he's a good father makes him a good man? He was not a good man. He was not a good mate, not a good husband, not a good confidant, not a real friend. But again, like I told you, he shot up the club, and then she called herself trying to embarrass him. He got a little dick. I'm like, well, shit, you jumped on it. You know what I'm saying? So don't do the revisionist history thing. Don't try to change the narrative once you got your feelings hurt, especially when you were fully aware of his. Yeah, she sat right across from one of the other chicks. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was fully aware of what he was doing, because the other girl would talk about him. So this goes back exactly when you were talking about projection. That is such a relevant
People
word.
project what they want onto people all the time. And people do it in relationships until they realize that the bulb has dimmed in the projector, and now they're seeing actually that the screen has fucking holes in it and tears, and it's not as shiny, as bright as it used to be. So this is the whole concept of a person wanting somebody to be something, or a person trying to change somebody, or they're doing so many things to change somebody that one day they turn around, look at that person, and be like, "You've changed." Yeah, because you fucking done all this stuff. Don't dress like that. Don't eat like that.
Yeah.
Don't walk like that. Don't talk like that.
Look, what the conversations we had back in college. People fall in love with the idea of being in love, or people, when they fall in love with somebody, they give them traits they don't always possess. And so that's a big deal with the situation, is that, like, nobody wants to be in love with a loser. And so since they don't want to be in love with a loser, they're like, well, so what they're saying is like, hey, this person right here, oh, they can dunk a basketball, or they're famous, or they're really smart, or they're this, that, and the other. And they're not. They're not even worth being around. And that's the whole situation. That's the whole situation, is that you don't want to be in love with a loser. You don't want to be in love with a bum, or you don't want to have kids by a bum. And so you talk this person up. You convince yourself that they're more than what they are. You convince yourself that they're Oh, they went to college. They didn't finish. Oh, they did. No, they don't even possess the traits that you are saying they possess. In fact, the truth of the matter is they're no different than your last mate.
So for me, the practice of retaining my essence started early in my life. And, you know, as a young man, you get with women and you start dating women and you having these escapades and all this stuff and you learning, you realize that there's value in lasting a long time, right? Having staying power. It makes you valuable, number one, but it also makes it more enjoyable for you because you can get stuff done. So then you start to look around and figure out what are the secrets, what are the lessons, where's the kung fu, how can I learn to
Hmm.
make myself stronger and better and this and that and the third, because I come from a martial arts background. So that foundation of self-improvement permeated everything in my fucking life. So then, when it comes to relationships, it's like, all right, well, it's not going to teach me about how to deal with women, but it will teach me how to be a effective mate, right? So,
Well,
but hold
go over,
on,
say
wait,
it. Yeah,
hold on a
yeah.
second. But see, so how to be effective, and so I started to search for these things, and I came across Taoist alchemy.
Mm.
Now, in Taoist alchemy, it's about mastering the energy of oneself. Now, the first part of my martial arts journey was all about the external world. Striking and blocking and trapping and sparring and grappling. All these things were the external world. The next part of my journey was the journey inward and learning
Within.
about how to use the energy of the the muscles and the blood and the bones, but also of the organs and the emotions that are generated by the organs. So then I came across the teachings of Montauk Chia and the microcosmic orbit and the healing Tao system. And I learned about this at the absolute perfect time when this new age stuff was just fucking exploding and you could find these books,
Everywhere. Yep,
all over
yep.
the place, right? But, I always had a radar for McDojo bullshit. And this was not McDojo bullshit. And I was, learning about this iron shirt Qigong and bone marrow Nikong and the foundations of that, which is based on the microcosmic orbit, which it teaches you how to get these chakra points together and rotate the energy in a 360-degree cycle, which is unlike the Indian style uh,
Yep.
chakra meditation, which goes from the root chakra all the way to the crown. It gets stuck in your head and people hallucinate, go crazy, and become cult leaders. Well, the benefit of this style of meditation is that you don't have that problem because you're grounding the energy and you learn about the yin and the yang energy. So then I reached the point in this teaching that I learned about sexual alchemy. And sexual alchemy is a part of the broader teaching of Taoist alchemical practices because it focuses on transforming and harmonizing sexual energy to enhance health, vitality, and spiritual growth. And it aims to cultivate and refine sexual energy. But it also emphasizes techniques for harnessing and cultivating sexual energy rather than dissipating it. And that's, up until this point, busting nuts is just dissipating it, or just sitting around,
It's the base, the
worked up
lowest form.
and not
Yeah.
transforming it is dissipating this energy. So it's like, oh, you can actually retain this energy and then use this as a springboard for spiritual evolution. Now, that was a radical concept to me because I'm like, hold on a second. So I can use this energy to grow my energy body, to make myself stronger, to protect myself from disease, to protect myself and my organs in the event of a car accident. I can surround them with energy like a cocoon around each one to protect them. This shit was blowing my mind. So then I started to have these flashbacks from these movies like, The Bastard Swordsman, The Bastard Swordsman 2, and Dragon Ball Z, and all these spiritual kung fu movies. And I'm like, oh, Those movies are based on these Taoist teachings that go back thousands of years. This is real Jedi shit. So then this involves learning to separate the orgasm from ejaculation for men, a practice that can be called non-ejaculatory sex. But in the Taoist philosophy, it places a significant importance on balancing yin, which is feminine energy, and yang, which is masculine energy, within the body, inside the body. So sexual alchemy is also integrated into other Taoist practices. Like before, I said the microcosmic orbit meditation. Another part of that is the 6 healing sounds. So, and together it creates a more comprehensive energy cultivation and well-being system. So, another important exercise in this healing Tao practice is the grounding practice, grounding the energy in the earth. Right now, you hear a lot of people walking around talking about, oh, I'm grounding.
Yep.
I'm grounding. I'm grounding. I'm walking around the backyard. I got my shoes off. I'm grounding my energy. That is, yes, it is, but it's a very pedestrian way because it's not active. So you're relying on the energy to go down into the earth on its own. What you have to do is actually stand still in a horse stance, a modified horse stance.
Yep. Horse stance,
and you have to use your mind to slowly, like a waterfall, run the energy the full length of your body down into the earth and then grow luminous roots down into the earth, grounding the energy, sending the energy down into the earth. So that way, and you feel it move out of your body down into the ground. Okay, so to work with hot sexual energy, it is crucial to be connected to the earth's energy. And Taoist sexual practices, they have physical and health benefits. But you can see it as a path to spiritual growth. Like I was saying, practitioners can attain higher levels of consciousness and connect with the Tao, which is the ultimate source of all existence. You do that by refining and directing the sexual energy.
Look, if you pay attention to Eastern medicine, there are a lot of exercises they do, from hitting themselves in the leg, hitting the chest. A lot of that stuff is to get the chi moving, is to get the bile and the stuff moving through the body. And people think that stuff is like witchcraft. It's just the opposite. This stuff is proven. This is not.
People fear what they don't understand.
Yeah, it seems pedestrian, but it's just the opposite. It's just the opposite.
But yet everybody's totally cool with yoga nowadays. But see, what people are practicing is a watered down, Walmart, Sam's Club version of yoga.
Hold on, Richard Pryor said you can't get no nut doing no yoga. That's why y'all niggas ain't got no kids. Look, this is stuff we grew up on. What would happen is we would listen to like a comedy album, like The Sensuous Black Man Meets the Sensuous Black Woman. Then you would find different books on different stuff, and then all it did was broaden your mind and make you more curious.
So stop right there. My mom used to tell these stories about how she would see me behind the couch, and I had this book. I would steal this book from my parents' closet. And this is a book from, the 70s, man. You know what I'm saying? They had it for a while. And it was a book of sexual positions. And this is all, this wasn't an illustration. These were photographs. And my mom said I would take this book and I would go lay down on the floor behind the couch, of course.
And just look at it.
Because nobody can see me. I'm invisible right there. And she said I would look at one page, and then I would turn the page and I would just stare at the next image for a long time. Dude, this is at 4 years old I'm doing shit like this.
But the book was The Joy of Sex, because they got an updated version. They have 9 versions of The Joy of Sex, and they just keep updating it after so many decades and stuff. But that's the whole thing. It wasn't dirty. It was just this exploration. And you were talking about people grounding. Most of these people who are grounding nowadays are doing it for medical reasons. They're like, hey man, I got sciatica. Well, I was gonna say sciatica, or I got inflammation here. So Here's I don't remember what channel, so please forgive me. There's a documentary right now, like one of these documentary shows, and there's a woman in Ethiopia who has not eaten for like 27 years, and they have I think it was like the BBC. So this British guy, and this is recent. He's like, yeah, we're going to do the scientific, and he's like, yeah, all the doctors have observed her, all the doctors have did her blood levels and all that stuff. She has the only nutrients she's having, the only energy she's having is they don't know where it's coming from because she is not eating. They've proven it. She is not eating in 20 something years. But this is what's so important about the grounding and taking energy from the earth. The earth is our battery.
The woman's again, a breatharian, dude.
I just got look. But like I said, this is supposed to be legit. This is not some.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is real. This is not a.
No, it's not a game. There are people like this is the problem. Everybody with their McDonald's, Walmart mentality, they think the world is the way they see the world. And they don't understand that this world is huge, that there are mammals that live in the ocean that do not think the way that you do, that there are creatures, there are people who live far away from power lines and phones and satellites, and they are not on the same shit that you are on, man.
Okay, don't leave out the most important part.
And their pineal gland is not contaminated by the four things that will tear it down, which is dirty electricity, glyphosate, fluoride, and
calcified
aluminum.
Fluoride. Yep. There's, like I said, you named so many things. What you must understand, the brainwashing or the indoctrination, whatever you want to call it, is so thorough. It happens to you so early. You know, a lot of the stuff you hear from your parents are stuff that they're just regurgitating, or there's stuff that they heard as a kid and they don't really understand how it applies. But how about this? How many times have you heard a cliche, but you haven't heard the whole cliche? Now you're older and some dork someplace tells you the whole cliche, a jack of all trades, a master. No, it's like 40. That's like a long ass cliche that has a completely different ending. People are just saying the short version because that's the point they want to make. Kind of like when somebody recites a Bible verse, Ephesians 16 says Michael Jackson's dad is a werewolf, but there's a whole thing behind it, or many of the stories in the Bible.
Like a werewolf, though.
Yeah, you do. Oh God, come on, Eddie Munster, like a black Eddie Munster. But what I'm saying is that a lot of times when you read you're not supposed to just read the one scripture. You need to read the whole passage and realize who are they talking to, what was going on at that time. The message is based on a specific situation, but people will grab that part, thou shalt not do this, and they'll cling to that because.
Well, clearly you haven't read the full Cherry Pickers edition.
Exactly. But again, look, the truth is the reason we're having these conversations is that we have no biological children, but we're fathers and we have a lot of children, and there are a lot of these people who, one, are blessed with children and are not living up to.
Understand something. I shoot live rounds, okay?
Oh, cool.
They work. The swimmers are swimming hard. But
yeah.
You were talking to a guy right now that has learned how to control this thing. And people are like, well, when you gonna do it? When I fucking feel like it. What y'all don't understand, is like, hold on. I am the son of a man who had a bunch of kids. You know what I'm saying? And he had kids at up until a late age in life. So guys from his time, they were built differently. You know what I'm saying? And so these preconceived notions that people have about reproducing, I don't get hung up on that shit. But, you know, it is what it is.
I remember, I'm going to give you an example. So one time, this chick I dated years ago, pain in the ass, but I was around a bunch of her friends, and her friends, they were kind of giving me confidence, like this, that, and other. And they're like, well, how do you not have kids? Because, you know, they knew some of the other women I had dated. You know, how do you not have kids? I'm like, responsible. I'm like, condom, saying no, you know, not and not just coming. And when I said birth control, she was like, "It's not that simple." I'm like, "Please explain how it's not." you know, like I get passion, I get wanting somebody, I get all that stuff. But I come from a situation where I had a shitty father, and my goal is not to be a shitty father. And I think one of the hardest things that you learn that people try to guilt you for not being a parent, and they're like, "You don't know what it's like." But the truth of the matter is, the fact that I don't have children is the fact that I'm a good parent. The fact that I am making sure my children are coming into a healthy situation, a prosperous situation, means I'm a good parent. See, what it is y'all look at, no, when I say y'all, I don't mean you. I'm saying y'all look at the fact that somebody has a child as that was the goal. No, my goal is to have a successful child, successful children, healthy children, mentally healthy. Look, like we've talked about in past podcasts, some of the stuff I went through when it came to this foster care system. And trust me, the problem is people think that raising a child is simply providing for them. No, raising them is giving them rules, giving them discipline, teaching them how to do stuff. But also on the flip side, what Roscoe was talking about earlier is having discipline in a sexual field. Bring your martial arts discipline into your bedroom practice. Satisfying a woman. The conversation is different this whole thing about how people love to talk about, man, they don't make women like they used to. That's because you ain't satisfying her. If you satisfy.
When I saw that you could fucking tie an orange on a string and practice hitting the orange with your tongue, I'm like, this shit is wild, dude. Like, so you want me to strengthen the muscles in my tongue with this orange? This shit is wild, dude.
I'm doing push-ups with my tongue. So, but that's the whole thing, is that people are not well rounded. What's happening in the world is you have somebody who's a physical specimen, who is a physical specimen because they're an athlete in some of the arena, and that translates to the bedroom, but they don't have the mental discipline or the patience. Like, there are women that I may come without doing the stuff that everybody else does, and they would still call, "How did you do that?" Or "Can you do that?" Or they would ask you questions, and you're like, "Oh yeah, this, that, and other," and like, "Can you teach me that?" Like, "Oh, you want me to teach you how to make a woman come?" "Yeah, I'll teach you." But that's the whole thing, is that these things that you learn translate into a healthier relationship. And that's also the other problem, is that because somebody can satisfy you in the bedroom, you tend to give them, again,
everything
we discussed earlier.
Everything.
Yeah, you are selling the whole house based on, hey man, their credit score is pretty high.
The backyard. This backyard is great.
It is amazing. But this motherfucker got roaches like a motherfucker. And so, but that's what's happening to people. That's what's happening to many women, is because, unfortunately, a lot of women haven't come. So they make it all the way to 20, 30 years old without coming. Some
then they lose their mind.
Out of jail. Yeah. Or on a personal level, like, I remember several times that I thought I did a terrible job with a chick. Like, I was terrible. And they like, that was the most amazing. I'm like, are you saying that to make me feel better? And then you realize, oh, well, shit, if you like that,
the bar
you love
is
this.
very low.
Yeah. And so then you raise the bar, and they're like, oh my God, let me give you a car. Or here's another thing, that when it came to that modern dating, is that so many women had been bruised up in the head that you didn't have to manipulate them. They were already like manipulated, and they say shit like, "Hey, I just want sex. I don't want a relationship. I don't want this, that, and other." And like that third time after you knocked it out, and they were completely amazed. They're like, "You want to meet my mom?" Like, "No, you said you didn't want a relationship. Unless me and your mom will have a threesome. No, I don't want to meet your mom, because you made it quite clear that this was just a physical thing." And then when you found out that I could take you places that you didn't expect, then all of a sudden you're like, "He's great." No, he was great, but I'm relationship material at the time. And that's another thing that a lot of women, when they're in relationships with men, and a man tells you like, "Hey, I don't want to settle down. I don't want this. I don't want that." It's not. There are men that are players and they're manipulative, yes, but a lot of men, we want the whole package. And I don't feel that if I'm making enough money, or I'm not where I am stable, I don't have the stability I want to offer you the life. And so when I'm saying wait, is not because I'm trying to dangle you along. It's because I'm trying to be the man that I think you deserve. But then women start listening to their friends. And again, this is not every situation, but they'll, like, you got that hive mind out there. You got people who are giving advice who aren't good at shit. And all of a sudden they're like, "Are you cheating?" Or "You're this," and you're not. Next thing you know, you break up with them, and The next relationship, they're calling you a or you like, no, I'm good. I moved on. You wouldn't be patient enough for me to achieve what I wanted to achieve. So that's all these things are part of the pullout game, if you will. I'm trying to plan my life out. I'm trying to have a successful life. And I'm trying to make sure that my kids are healthy. I'm trying to make sure that my mate, which I'm married now, has the things that she needs, that she has expectations of me that I live up to. But this other shit, yeah. Now, on the flip side, yeah, I partied, nigga. I in college years probably went a little bit longer than they should have. But gotta sow your roll oats. You saw coming to America, you gotta learn how to do stuff. And unfortunately, one of the things, like when you talk to these older guys, they tell you there's a season for everything. And what they're saying by that, there are women that you practice on, and there are women that you be with. And a lot of times, the women that you practice on, eventually that they come back around like, hey, how come we never worked out? Shit, I had no intention of being with you. I was just trying, get my chi going and practice some shit.
Ways. I mean, there's women that have the same mentality, and people should understand, like, and have the awareness to see that, okay, well, this person doesn't want to be with me, but they want to have some fun. So let me have some fun, and then just move on to the next part of my life. But people get caught up in the feels, and they start to have resentment. I'm like, you got to accept it for what it is and get the most out of it. So in the Taoist tradition, the yin or female principle is often called water, while yang, the male nature, is called fire. When the fire and the water of our parents unite, our life is created and an individual being is born from the womb of the mother. The human condition resembles fire and water, since water reflects the feminine and fire the masculine. Both are perfect in themselves but not stable. We need to balance the one with the other to produce perfect harmony. So learning the Taoist sexual practice of dual cultivation is about cultivating a perfect relationship between a man and a woman, fusing the fire and the water together, producing a healing love which can enhance the life force of each person and can be used for healing.
Look, I've had situations where you try to explain to a woman not what a man wants, but that what somebody's intentions are, and that's what you have to understand. And I was dating a chick who I did not want to date. I've told the story before where I got a couple rules and I didn't want to break my rule, but because we had grown close, spent a lot of time together, and she was like, "Hey, you done slept with a bunch of my friends. Why am I not good enough?" It was like, which is an awkward conversation. I'm like, dude, like,
oh boy.
Yeah, oh boy. So I explained to her, I got a rule. Oh, you don't sleep with friends. I'm like, clearly I slept with your friends, but are you saying that I don't sleep with my friends? And so I told her. She was devastated. She was very upset. So we started dating, and she found out that I don't date women that have dated friends of mine. And I kind of figured that she had dated somebody I knew, but when I asked her, she said no. When I asked him, he said no. And so, okay, cool. I'll take y'all for your word. I know what I seen. I seen her looking and the guy still liked her. She said she was over him. So fast forward about a month or two. Well, she pisses him off by he wanted her to hook him up with a friend of hers. She said, "You're kind of a bum, and she's a good person. I don't really want to do that." So then he gets offended and tells me like, "Hey, we used to date back such and such, such and such." I'm like, "Huh, okay, cool." So I go off on her. And the reason I went off on her, I said, "Look, there were 3 or 4 times when you could have told me." I realized this, and I'm gonna give a very terrible example. There was a club that me and a homeboy were going to, and I get a call from her because she's like, "Well, you're with such and such. You got a bunch of bitches. You got this," and she's just going off on me, right? I go to the house. She's sitting there on my porch. I go inside with her. The homeboy all of a sudden is so drunk that he can't function because he thinks that she's about to cuss me out and go off on me. So he wants to be there for it. He wants to witness me squirm. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Roscoe, you've known me 40-something years. You ain't never seen me squirm. So he wants to see me squirm. And he had made little comments before that made me think that they dated. But one of the comments he made, "Man, you dating her, man. She don't watch porn, man. She don't do this, she don't do that."
Good.
I'm like, yes, she does. Maybe she don't watch it, but You know, so so we're at my house. I go upstairs with her, and I go, you know, where my office is. I went to my office, and the old boy, like I said, so drunk he can't function. So we go up there, and she starts to cuss me out. I grab her by her hair, bend her over, pull up her skirt, just trounce her for a good 5, 6 minutes. Then I said, "Are you balanced now?" She's like, "Yeah." I said, "Do you think yelling at me in front of somebody else is the way to go?" She's like, "No." I said, "Cool, I'm out." I walk downstairs, tell homeboy, let's go back to the different club. And he pops out like, "Oh man, she really let you have it." I'm like, "Not even close, cuz. Not even close." You know what I'm saying? So she stayed at my house. She waited till we came back home 2 or 3, until I got back home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and she was cool. But I'm like, I'm not about to let somebody talk crazy to me in my house. I'm not about to sit here and let her. And that's the other part where, like I said, he was trying to drop little hints when man, she don't watch porn. I'm like, man, this bitch just sucked my dick with a fucking porno with motherfucking Lexington Steel and some 3 or 4 bitches. What she did with you, she made rules for you. I make rules for her. That's what this is. And so this is the conversation that very few men and women have. Your girlfriend might be my wife. My wife might be your girlfriend. So multiple people can occupy one body. As she becomes and matures and understands stuff, she ain't the same person she used to be. As I mature and understand stuff, who I was to her, I might not be to the next woman. I told you this story. I had to go off on her because we got a homeboy we grew up with, Freeze. And so she was like, I want to go to his wedding. I want to go to his wedding. I said, why? He invited me to his wedding. I'm like, so y'all dated? He's like, yeah. I said, so you can't see that this man is sitting here staring out he's inviting all these women that he used to fuck. He's telling you, you weren't good enough. I'm marrying somebody else. And 2, he's just looking out there and looking at all that pussy pass. He's just sitting there basking in the glow.
No, that's his Hall of Fame induction. That's what that is.
Exactly. And so, and you're going to sit there and I'm like, look, I said, he's really a friend of mine. I really know the guy. And he didn't invite me. Now, he doesn't have my number, but like I said, you know, Free, if we see him right now, we would all go out, drink, kick it, and yada, yada, yada. But that's the whole thing is that I'm like, stop thinking because you know somebody's name that you're actually a friend. Many of these women and men, these are convenient relationships. These are acquaintances. And simply knowing somebody's name. In fact, I think that's where a lot of the problems come in today is that you slept with that person. You must know him. No. You slept with him because you were attracted to him and you wanted to sleep with him. And the fact is that nobody wants to say the truth. And there's a couple women I got to know after I slept with them. I can't sleep with them no more. If I got to know you, I couldn't sleep with you. You kind of trifling. And I'm like, I can't believe that I even. And see, women erase men all the time off their record. Like, oh no, that don't count.
Listen. So I went to some money services place months ago, and I was talking to this woman, and like she looked at my driver's license. She's like, "Oh, you just had a birthday." I was like, "She said, happy birthday." I said, "Thank you." And I asked her when her birthday was, and she told me. I just started laughing, and then she asked me why, because I was like, you know, I know some things about you without knowing you. She went on to tell me about how she was in a relationship and how she was still in a relationship, but she'd already mourned him. And I just laughed hard for about 60 seconds hard, dude, just laughing because I know what that is. That means, see, okay, women will mourn you while they're still with you. That means they are done with your ass and it is looking for an out. And they just haven't found the right way to fucking jump ship yet. And when I heard that, I'm like, women are totally different creatures. It's so different than men. But the point that I really want to get to is related to energy because it's useful in this discussion. When I was reaching a point early on when I saw there was time displacement in sex, and when I saw that, you know, me and this woman would get into bed and it would be dark and the lights, you would see the alarm clock on the nightstand and, you know, you're doing your thing and you look up and, you know, 10 minutes pass by, no big deal. Then you look up again, 25 minutes has passed by, you're like, all right, still, everything's still working like it's supposed to. You look up, 45 minutes. 45 minutes has gone by. Wow. You look up again, another 15 minutes. An hour and 5 minutes have gone by. You're like, wow, this is a trip. So what happened then, there were these revelations I had at that point. So women will let you spend that much time that they will allow you to spend that much intense time with them because you're taking them somewhere, because you're taking them places and you're showing them the tops of mountains and you're showing them the oceans and the rivers. You're taking you're taking them to places inside their imagination. And if you are the guy that can take them to the mountaintop and to the rivers and to the oceans, then they're going to keep blowing your phone up. They're going to keep spending time with you and making time for you, whether they're with somebody or without somebody. Now, there was a time when I was a horse thief, but those days are behind me now. So, but the thing is that time displacement, once I understood what that was, the first time, it dawns upon you, it's mind blowing. But then it starts to happen again and again, and like, there's something to this. So I need to take the lesson from this and learn from this. Now, I will say that on this journey of strengthening my energy body and growing as a spiritual being, I've been with a lot of wonderful women. Now, wonderful in their own way. So I have had the perfect woman if you line them all up on the wall and I take the best parts of each one and I make a composite woman. I've already had the perfect woman, you know what I'm saying? But each one of these women gave me some of their time, some of their essence. They shared some of their essence with them, their true self. And we explored very, very beautiful things together. You know what I'm saying? Now, whether it's for a moment or whether it's for a while or whether it's for a good time or a long time, it doesn't matter because I was bringing them into my time machine and taking them places. You dig? And that time machine is the energy bubble that me and that woman create around ourselves. That's why the time displacement thing was blowing my mind when I first learned about it, but I found out how to use it. Okay, and that adds to the pullout game. Go ahead, man.
Hold on. No, we got to stay on the pullout game. The reason we're talking about the pullout game is because in our personal lives, we met a lot of people, of women that we fall in love with.
Yes, go ahead.
A lot of women we fall in love with have reminders of their past relationships. They're called children, and I love them. I take care of them. I can break up with somebody, but if the kid doesn't want to break up with me, I make sure that I'm there for him. But when you talk about this, how do I say it? There, I got so many stories. I don't even know which one. There are a lot of people who think that sex is just about having kids. You have a lot of people who think making love is something that is localized to somebody who you completely have feelings for. And then you have that crossroads in the middle where you're fucking and making love at the same time. And that's usually where you have the most productive, is that the right word? Situations sexually. That time thing, time gets away from you.
Because you're no longer in the realm of time. You transcend
it's not
time.
Relevant. It's not relevant to you. It doesn't matter. One of the tricks I learned early on was about not thinking exactly about sex, thinking about other things to prolong myself. And one of the things I would do is the worst thing you can do is ask me what I'm thinking. So I'm messing with this chick. She's older, and she was divorced, and so I'm messing with her, and she was just so impressed with some of the things I did to her. I'm like, ain't you married? You got a couple kids. She's like, nah, man, you really better than you give yourself credit. And so one of these times we're doing it, and it's 3 separate times where she asked me what I was thinking. I'm like, you didn't learn from last time? So the first time, I kind of wrecked her. And she's like, you're still erecting me. Yeah, whatever. What are you thinking? I'm like, oh, are you serious? She's like, yeah. I'm thinking about pizza. I'm like, shit. Because if I'm thinking about pizza, then, pizza's great. And I'm like, oh. Then she got mad at me. So fast forward, the next time we were doing it, she was like, you did this, that, and that, and that. And like, oh my God, how you yell at a motherfucker who just, did this to you? She's like, well, what are you thinking about? Are you serious?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How do you feel? You feel good? Okay. Have a coconut
Yeah.
smile and shut the fuck up.
So I told her, I said, when I was a kid, there's a movie called Cat People, and I remember the movie when they would have sex, they would turn into cats. You remember that movie?
Wow,
And
bro.
I'm like, and I'm sitting there thinking like, man, that would I be?
So you're
And
basically
so,
gonna fuck Chitara, basically.
yeah, dude, but if y'all look this movie up called Cat
I
People.
know.
That
I
was
already
totally,
know. Yeah.
you know, you was up there with the audience. So I'm like, the last time she got mad at me because she kind of got, I guess she decided to go back to her boyfriend. And what had happened, she broke up with this dude, but she said he didn't know. I said, "What do you mean he didn't know?" She's like, "I told him we broke up, but he wouldn't take no for an answer." So,
Oh, okay. He's codependent.
yeah, yeah. So one of these days, this was early on where she didn't know I was what I was. So I beat the hell out of her, right? I mean, it's like fucking, it's kids coming home from school. It just it's getting real bad. And she goes, "Is somebody knocking on the door?" I'm like, "I don't care." So I trounce her. All of a sudden, the phone rings, and he's like, "Are you in there having sex?" And her was outside, right? Her ex-boyfriend was outside. So I'm like, "Well, cool." He's like, "Are you?" She's like, "I don't want to answer that question." And I'm like, "You
I
know
do
the
not
answer."
sleep with that woman.
Yeah, you do that. So I'm like, "Well, I'm about to go outside. I'm about to go." She's like, "Don't go, don't go. I don't want you to fight him." I'm like, "I'm not gonna fight him. I'm exhausted. I'm about to go home. And if he gets out of pocket, yeah, whatever happened." So she begged me, "Don't leave. You know, he's not a fighter." I'm like, "Why do you keep saying it to me?" Because I beat the pussy up. I'm gonna beat that pussy. You know me. And I'm like, "Look." So that was one of them times where, like you said, time got away. Literally, that we were like 4 hours in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit got away. I don't know how long he was out there. He's patient. And that nigga is patient. Let me tell you. So those are the things that look. What happened was so she called herself getting back with him, but she called me over anyway. So we just like kind of messing around a little bit, and she's like, "Hey, did you come in?" Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't coming at all. She's like, "Why am I wet?" I said, "Oh my god, whatever." She asked me, "What are you thinking about?" I was like, "Why do you always do that?" So I told her, I said, you know the part in Star Wars when they're taking out the Death Star and he shoots the damn missiles and they go down the hole?" I'm
No,
like,
because she's
"Man."
never seen Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, she saw Star Wars. And I'm like, I think I hit a 3-pointer. If I got inside you from far away as I was, that's like a three. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, there's no way I hit that target far away. And she was pissed. I'm like, why do you stop asking me what I'm thinking? Because what I'm thinking is mine. Clearly, what I'm thinking is belongs to me. I'm not your man, clearly, because you want to get back with old boy. So, like I said, when Ross was talking about that time warp or that time getting away from you, or the idea that time is not relevant anymore because you're on a different plane. And look, let's not even talk about drug induced stuff because I was on codeine and I had an out of body experience with a chick. I'm like, I'm high fiving myself. I talked about it on past podcasts, so we ain't got to rehash this shit. But what it is that these things are tools, and I don't want to say tools as in manipulating, but I'm saying the tools as in there are things that hone your skills, things that make you better, things that you use to serve a purpose. And once you start understanding that, you become a better mate. You understand things. We didn't really talk about anatomy. Excuse me, we didn't talk about anatomy. Women have
Pause right
they
there.
got G spot.
Pause right there. Pause right there. So there is an old Taoist text that states, based on observations and years of practice, that the first time that you retain it, you sleep well. The second time you retain it, your voice booms when you speak. The third time that you retain it, your back becomes strong and toned. The fourth time that you retain it, your sight becomes crystal clear. The fifth time that you retain it, your hearing is made even more clear. The sixth time that you retain it, your hair begins to grow thicker. The seventh time that you retain it, your lifespan is increased.
Prolongs. Yeah. Hey, look, there's something I'm going to say that people ain't going to like. But one of the things that we talked about off air was, we have children, we have stepchildren, we have children that are in our lives. We have, and you have to meet bio dads.
Bio
And when you
dads.
meet in bio dads, sometimes the reason they have kids is because they are nobody ever says that that guy is weak. That's why he didn't hold his seed. That's why he he didn't make you come and you were miserable. But since you were with him or you felt sorry for him, you see these women, and I'm like, how did you pick him? And they'll tell you, and I'm like, oh, golly, for real. In some situations, this is the crazy part. The guy might have been a piece of shit then, but now the kid is, say, 20 years old. He's a better person. He's matured or whatever. He's a better man. Or he's a better father. But the guy he was back then, nah, he's a piece of crap. Or when your kid chooses you over their own biological, over their own blood, it makes you feel good because you know that you've impacted that child in a positive way. But it also lets you know that, hey, this father thing ain't as hard as you guys make it seem. you know, day they passed. One of my best friends, he had problems with his dad, but when he had his kids, he's like, I don't know what the big deal is. All you gotta do is buy a couple board games, play with them, throw the ball, and just be there every day. And like, hey, don't do that. That pot is hot,
And
And
teach them useful things to make them effective human beings.
people, and that is what people don't get when they talk about parenthood is so hard. That's because you didn't give your child anything. Like I had a couple situations with my daughter where it's some street game, and I told her that's what these niggas gonna do. That's what this person's gonna do, and they're gonna say this, and I'm completely removed. And she calls me, Brandon, it happened just the way you said, and I'm like, yeah, baby, I know. Are you okay? She's like, no, come get me. So I gotta go get my daughter because she's in a situation. But that's the whole thing is that when you impart on something that a world or something they didn't understand or they didn't know, they respect you way more, whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing,
Yeah.
whether it's just game.
Yeah.
And so what you're sharing with them is something that they're going to hold forever. Last time I came to Tennessee was my aunt's funeral. I'm in Tennessee right now. It was my aunt's funeral, and I brought my youngest daughter. And we went to the funeral. She released the doves. She met a lot of my family. We shot one of my weapons out in the lake in the back, that kind of stuff. And she remembers that forever. Those when you're sharing of yourself. See, people who sometimes have kids, the only thing they have to offer is their semen. They don't have nothing else in this world to offer. It's the same thing with the women. Some women only have ovums. They don't have anything else. And so they share the only thing they got real quick, and then they have nothing to give their mate. That's all they had is that, hey man, we fucked a couple times. Look, I got way more to offer than that. And if you hang around, I promise you, I will make your life better. I will take you places you never dreamed of. And that's what Roscoe meant when he was saying, I see the mountains when I make free love to you. That's what you're talking about. I'm taking you on a journey each and every time. And you can't get that no place else. You're not going to understand that. And then after that, I'm going to go play baseball with your son and back. I'm going to teach him how to build a birdhouse. I'm going to teach our daughter how to go fishing, how to cook the fish. So, like I said, stop giving people credit for just doing the base shit. Just having a kid. Oh, he got a kid. He's a father. Man, shit. Retards can have kids. And I remember back in the day, remember when the Super Bowl, what's the most important moment in your life? Man, the time I won the Super Bowl. Now it's like, after the birth of my child, it's the Super Bowl. Like, wait a minute. Anybody can have a kid. You got about 1,300 niggas that don't want a Super Bowl, but you got billions of people having kids. So that having a kid thing, nah, man. Trust me. Now, raising a kid, producing an amazing adult that you can trust outside in the world, not to make the world better, not to make it shittier, that's a whole other conversation.
So, here's the deal. This old lady said this thing. She was somebody that I used to date her daughter. And we would talk. Me and her would play chess all the time. We would smoke weed and we would play chess. And she said to me, you never give jewels to mules. And that's one of those things that just stuck with me for a long... No. It made sense then. But it stuck with me ever since then. It's like my dad would say, you can't have champagne taste with beer money.
My
So
grandmother, her thing was, a dumb motherfucker can't tell horse shit from apple butter. And I'm
exactly.
like,
So the thing I'm communicating here is that there's all kind of women that I would see that I would think was beautiful, but I wouldn't always go after them because I would go after the ones that had resonance, the energetic resonance. Like if I saw a beautiful woman and then I felt the thunderbolt, I'm going after her. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's like, there's intrigue. There's je ne sais quoi. There's something there that makes her interesting. Because, dude, like, I live in the land of beautiful women. Okay, I see all different types of beautiful women, and not until I see the one. You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about she has to be the ultimate. No, 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 no. Just something interesting. Or if I happen to hear her say something, that piques my curiosity, then I'm going after her. You know what I'm saying? Because if not, then it's just another attractive person that 17,000 other guys are going to be trying to hit on. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing there. It's just like, oh yeah, like you have really good genes. That's cool. But, what else is there? Like, what else is there to you? Because, I mean, I've been with those chicks. I've been in the bed with those women who haven't had nothing at all to talk about. And they're like, okay, gotta go. Have a nice life. You know what I'm saying? So then that's why I go back to what I said about you don't give jewels to music. This goes for men and women. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
you don't
100%.
just get with anybody. You know what I'm saying? But you can see the fire in their eyes. You can see there's something special, or that person may not even look at you. They may brush by you, and you just feel the energy. I'm like, okay, there's something right there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something good there. There's some good essence. You know what I'm saying? So then you pursue,
This is
and then you
goosebumps. Keep
see
popping.
what is beneath the surface. You know what I'm saying? Literally and figuratively. You know what I mean?
But I think, like, men and women can have complete conversations and get two different things out of it. Like, for instance, when if you tell a woman like, "Hey, I'm not attracted to you," she says, "That nigga said I'm not attractive." No, 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 no. You are very attractive. I'm not attracted. Which means not that you're ugly, means that I'm not drawn to you. I'm telling you that, and that's not a good or bad thing. You're beautiful. You're talented. You're whatever you are. But there's nothing that's going to there's no magnetism for me. There's nothing that makes me want to look twice at you. And again, that's I'm not saying you're ugly. I'm saying I am not attracted to you. But you want to paraphrase everything, and that lets me know that you weren't listening, or that lets me know that you literally tuned me out once you didn't hear what you wanted to hear, and now you're trying to figure out, well, how do I make him this, or how do I manipulate him that, or and I'm like, no, it's not that at all. You cool, just not cool for me. And so when you deal with that situation, when you deal with, and I hate throwing that. Women are emotional. That's whatever. But what I'm saying is that you have a desire and you're hoping something happens. You got to be careful about that because you're projecting. You want a positive outcome, but I want the truth, and that's what makes me different. I want the honesty, whether it's my body, my brain, or whatever. I need the honesty. Like, hey, man, yeah, because right now all of us want to feel good, but I want to be good. I want to be healthy. I want to be smart. I want to be talented. I need to lose weight, but I want to be those things. I don't just want to feel good because that feeling good can deceive you, and that's what makes you stay with somebody longer than you should. That's what makes you hold out that they're going to get their shit together and they're not. That's that. Hey, that nigga got potential. Potential means you ain't doing shit now. These are the conversations that you should be having with yourself, and not springing them on somebody because they made you come. Not springing them on somebody because you like brother just said. Hey, you got good genes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, for real.
But I think the pullout game goes back deep into prehistory.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think, it's something that existed for a long time. I mean, there's, people who might have been with somebody they didn't want to mate with, but they wanted to get some. You know what I mean? So they was
Yeah,
like, yo, I'm going to do this, but we ain't having no kids here in this place, blah, blah, blah.
I
So,
bring my own birth control, my nigga, for real. I'm
so
like I said.
what I'm saying is that, this is something that has been around for a really long time. But it's valuable because, you have women who are old fashioned and they don't put out at all, and they're waiting for the right one. Well, the pullout game is kind of like a variation on that. It's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're going to get some, but this ain't the right one. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I'm saying. This is where your experience and your will are very important, because you cannot fall victim to sonic and tactile persuasion. Like I said earlier, you can't let those moans, knock down the castle wall. You know what I'm saying? You can't let, the grabbing and the touching and all that. No, you have to be stoic. You got to be stoically committed to, crossing the end zone. You know what I'm saying? And not dropping the ball. It sounds like a joke. It sounds like a game. But if you have been there, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know that, hey, I'm in this to have some fun, and then I'm out. I got to say, dude, like, we made it through, all these crazy times where people could have died from, communicable diseases. You know what I'm saying? And, praise God, none of those ever happened. That it didn't happen that way. I mean, dude, like, we were kids when, Magic Johnson was, on TV talking about, he got the HIV. You know what I'm saying? So, and that was a big deal. I mean, everybody was really strapping up, when they saw that, that was on TV, and like, that was a big deal. Especially this is a disease that's created to kill us, black people, So, and it didn't work, but we still out here fucking. But it's crazy because, like, you go to LA and you got billboards that says, be careful about, HPV, or be careful about chlamydia. I'm like, the clap? For real? Like, y'all out here just raw dogging and, like, motherfuckers is still getting the clap? Damn. Well, but it's good, people are more concerned about that. That's the concern, and not, the heavy duty genocide diseases. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's wild though. But I mean, but the pullout game is a way of life. It really is, because it says a lot about who you are and your determination and your willpower, because you have to have those to be successful at the pullout game. Because listen, man, you pulling out because it ain't time for you to have kids. That's period, point blank. That's all there is to it. Like, this is not the time to have children, not right now. And then you get with that person who's like, yo, I'm going to shoot the club up, everybody getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And then you hear about people who can't have children, for whatever biological reasons. And part of that, I think, is psychological sometimes. And, there was a friend of mine, him and his wife were trying to have kids. I said, the problem is you guys are trying. It's like Yoda, do or do not. There is no try. And if you just simply smoke some weed and just go get butt ass naked and don't care, you're going to have a baby. If you act like third world motherfuckers, just fucking and not caring, you're going to have a baby. You know what I'm saying? That shit is going to happen, because I have seen this shit happen time and time again. And, I think people in the West and people like in Japan, they get so in their heads about it that they have fertility issues. And that's why, you have, their population in Japan is declining, because, for a multitude of reasons. But I think, part of it is that, they were castrated by the American military, with the bombs and shit, and their masculinity was just like cut down. And that's why you have these boy bands, these like effeminate dudes singing, you know what I'm saying? So, it's tough, and it's a challenge. I mean, they even got this, you can get a visa to go to Japan just to procreate. And that shit is wild, dude. That shit is wild. That means they are in trouble, and they need to grow their population, especially coming from a xenophobic nation that didn't want outsiders there for a long time. But now they want you skeeting just to make some, Japanese babies and shit. So, yeah, that shit's wild. But again, the pullout game is is really important, man. Because if you're dedicated to that and you're careful, you're not out here being reckless, you will live a long and healthy life, and you will accomplish what you seek to accomplish. And then when it's time for you to have offspring, if you decide to do that, by all means, you've done everything you wanted to do at that point. Fire away, bombs away. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.